Hi, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Today I am working on a different sized layout than I normally do, or actually than I've ever done before. And this is the size of traveler's notebook that I have. I've never worked in my traveler's notebook. I've always wanted to, but I can't figure out what project to put in there. And so there was a challenge at Scrap Academy to scrapbook something in a size you've never used before. So that is the size that I am going with today, since I've actually never used it before. But I don't really plan to put this in my traveler's notebook. I am going to use my fuse tool, and I am going to put it in my travel album for my trip to Hawaii, and it'll be intermixed with my 12 by 12s, and I think I have a couple of 8.5 by 11s in there as well. So I don't mind mixing sizes in my albums. I really like it that way, actually. It gives a lot of interest to your album, so that's what I'm planning to do. And I am finding that I'm not a huge fan of this size. I'm not sure that I will ever use my traveler's notebook, but there's just not a lot of real estate. And even so much as I'm doing this so that it's back to back, so I'm doing 2 pages like you would a traveler's notebook spread, but instead of putting them where they face each other, they're going to be back to back because they're going to go in one sleeve in my album. So there really is just not a ton of room. And so I do have these a couple of small photos. The first one is of some pork buns, and those were, I'm just documenting kind of a funny story. Actually, my husband, he has been to Oahu, and actually I think every island except Kauai until this trip, and he remembers eating pork buns in Oahu, and they were kind of a thing there that were popular, and so he was really excited to have me try these pork buns, and he always calls them by their like Chinese name, which is like chazuba or something like that. And so he was like really excited to have me try them, and we can get pork buns here. It's not like we don't have pork buns, but I guess it was just a fond memory for him. And so he was asking the people in Kauai, some of the locals, where to get them. And apparently they're kind of like the equivalent of a 7-Eleven hot dog. And in fact, the only place you can get them that we found in Kauai is at 7-Eleven. And you have to get there before the day laborers eat them all. So we went, we got them, and we were both like, huh, these are not that great. But it was kind of a funny story, so I wanted to document it. So what I've decided to do is I'm taking my first page, and I'm have these 3 banners, and they are going to hang down, and then on the flip side the banners will go up, and they're going to be shorter. They're not going to be quite as long as the ones on the front page. And I'm using some papers from Jen Hadfield, Chasing Adventure, and then that yellow piece is from Heidi Swap's Art Walk. And I'm using those 2 collections as well as Fifth and Monaco in this entire album, so hopefully there's a little bit of continuity as you go through it. And I just love all of these bright colors, and I think they're perfect for this particular trip. There's so much greenery, and I don't know, it's just a beautiful place to visit, and so I thought it would be perfect. So what I did off camera that you didn't see there is all of those banners have stitching around them, and this is a leftover piece from that same banner on the opposite side. And you can see me pulling the stitching through there. I do have to add some stitching on the end where the fishtail is, because I didn't do that when I stitched the first side, or the longer pink piece. And then I went ahead and stitched all of the pieces on both sides so that there's visual interest. There's not a whole lot to these layouts, and I'm actually really shocked my video is like 12 minutes long. Like, I don't even know what we're watching for 12 minutes, but because it certainly wasn't the stitching, obviously. But I am stitching on both of them, and I'm keeping them kind of simple. And originally my thought was to use this additional picture up in the upper right hand corner. There's a photograph, and it is basically the temperature of like a screenshot off of my phone that says the temperature, where it's like 90 something degrees, feels like 104, and it doesn't actually say, but there was like, I don't know, 80% humidity, so it was super hot a couple of the days. And so I was going to document that on the back side, But with the limited real estate, I had to put the story on the back side and the picture of the pork buns on the front side. So, so that's what I did. So on the front side, it's got the picture and it says Chezuba. I had to look up how to spell it. And there's me looking at the temperature, and I'm going to cut it down and think I'm going to use it still, but it's not going to go in here. So I'm going to put that to the side and just use my journaling on that page. So I use the actual Chinese name, and the thickers that I'm going to use are these little black thickers, and they come in a pack that has black and then some sparkly ones. So on the front side where it has the actual Chinese name, I'm doing it in the sparkle because it's like, oh, this is really neat and unusual and like fancy. So I'm going to use the sparkly ones, and then when you flip it over on the back, I'm doing the American name Chinese pork buns in just the plain black. So yeah, not so fancy really. And I don't know that anybody would get that but me, and I just thought it was kind of funny. So I decided to go ahead and do that. And these thickers are amazing. They're just like the right size for these little tiny layouts. So if you don't have them, I think you should check into them. And I will list the name of them in the description box down below because I don't have that in front of me right now, but I will list that there in case you're interested. And then I have all of these florals, and this was a digital pack that I bought and I downloaded, and actually there's like 2 different digital scrapbooking sets there that I am using, and I printed them out, and it's because I knew I was going to use a lot of florals in this album, and I didn't want to spend the money on buying, like, I don't know, floral packs from, actually all 3 of these collections, like, there's not a lot of florals. There's florals in the collection, but there's not a ton of florals in the ephemera. Whereas like a Paige Evans, you get just an entire thing of florals. I didn't want to have to go and buy like 6 or 7 of those. I just wanted to be able to print them off, and then I ran them through my scan and cut, which cut most of them out okay. Some of them, it hiccuped on some of them and chopped them up. Some of them were still usable. I just hide that part underneath the other part of a different flower. And then there were a couple that it just didn't know what to do with. So those ones I did hand cut. And so yeah, that's why I have these different florals. They're not in any particular collection. If you want the name of the digital collections that I used, I can put that down below as well. Or just drop me a note in the comments, actually, and then I will get back to you if you want to know the name of the digital collection. I did find this one piece in the Heidi Swapp sticker pack. I think it was the Heidi Swapp one. It just says all the details, and so that's going on the back with all of the journaling. Now, if you're not a member of the Scrap Academy Facebook group, it's an excellent group, especially if you're a beginner. I'm not a beginner scrapbooker, but there's always stuff to be learned, especially with, people have different styles and different techniques and different ways of doing things, so I think there's always something to be learned. And I highly recommend you check it out because they are kind of starting from like the beginning. What do you need as far as tools and all of that, and how can you use your tools, and things like that. And there's a lot of videos, a lot of really good information, and a challenge every week. So go check them out. It's Scrap Academy, and they are on Facebook. And this is what they consider a PhD level layout, because it's like supposed to be one of the hardest challenges is using something that, like trying something you've never used before. There are 3 other levels of this challenge, so there are ones that may not be as difficult, or that are definitely not as difficult, so you can try those challenges if this is something that would intimidate you, or if you don't want to add like multiple different kinds of pages to your album, then you can choose one of the other challenges. You don't have to choose the level that I did. I kind of just made it a personal goal of myself to just try the hardest one every time. So yeah, I've done a scrapbook layout without using any scissors or cutting tools, or traditional cutting tools. So no scissor, no trimmer, no pen blade or utility knife, whatever you call that thing. I don't use it anyway, so that one wasn't a big deal. But I did it with no scissors or trimmer, which that's a little bit more difficult. And then we've done one where you didn't use any traditional adhesives, so my entire layout was either stitched or stapled. So yeah, different things, and those are the difficult layouts. You don't have to do a difficult one. I am going to add a few enamel dots, just 3 to each side, in this matte pink color, and those are from Gina Marie, and she has a website that has tons of enamel dots where you can get them super inexpensive. I just got these because I was running low on enamel dots, and I am not a huge Nouveau Drop fan, even though I have a lot of them. I don't really use them, and I'm not a huge fan, so you probably won't see me use a whole lot of those as an enamel dot anyway. Thank you so much for watching. This layout's coming to an end. Oh, I am going to add some mist, so I take that back. I'm going to add a little bit of the dark pink Heidi Swap color shine to it, and then that's going to do it for this layout. I also did stitch around the entire page on each side, so you can look for that in the close-ups. They're coming up in just a moment. Thanks so much for watching, and I'd appreciate it if you would like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Bye!